Okay, welcome to the Lenox Board of Selectmen, Wednesday, July 28th, 7 p.m. meeting in Town Hall. This is our regular meeting, and I believe per the state regulations, we all need to introduce ourselves. Mary Beth Mitz.
Neil Maximilian.
Ed Lane.
Dave Roach.
Warren Archie.
Great, thank you very much. Announcements from the chair. First of all, I want to start off by thanking our fantastic DPW police chief, Steve O'Brien, our fire chief, Chris O'Brien, Bill Gopp and all of his crew, and really every policeman, every firefighter in Lenox for helping with the last 3 very significant weather events. The first one was the last time we met here on a Wednesday night, and then the following Sunday, and then last evening. That's really left the town of Lenox with a significant amount of environmental damage. We had a culvert washout an entire neighborhood, and they moved heaven and earth to get all the people in that neighborhood safe, to create a parking lot for them, mailboxes for them, and they've done a great job keeping everyone in that neighborhood safe. I think everybody's probably been up and down East Street. There are some traffic signs there slowing traffic down because that neighborhood is walking across the street to a makeshift parking lot so they can all get out. And they just did a fantastic job. So thanks for that. Now we'll move on to the acceptance of minutes for July 14th and 19th.
Madam Chair, I move to accept the minutes for both July 14th and 19th.
Second.
Excellent.
I'll recuse myself from July 19th. I wasn't present.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And Ed's going to abstain from the 19th. Great. Citizens Open Forum. If we have anyone who'd like to speak tonight in Citizens Open Forum, they will have 2 minutes to speak. Do I have anyone? Okay.
Hello, I'm Susan May, 40 Old Stockbridge Road, and I want to finish what I started in the 2 minutes last meeting. So this is in regard to the putting a cell antenna on the roof of the Curtis. The health and well-being of our town's most vulnerable populations is at stake. Our elderly, our disabled, and children living in the family units. This population is doubly vulnerable. Number 1, with aging comes health and mobility issues. Many of our residents are already combating these. Number 2, these are the poorest of our townspeople economically. They have nowhere else to live because of the town's lack of affordable housing. Pittsfield allowed a cell tower to be installed close to a residential neighborhood and is probably now regretting it. People who live in the neighborhood are reporting physical health symptoms such as headaches, nausea, dizziness, etc. The city is getting multiple complaints, and there are lawsuits pending. Is this what we want for our town of Lenox? I'll conclude with what is said to physicians. First, do no harm. I would expect that, and I think the voters of the town of Lenox expect that is the minimum for voting for a select person. First, do no harm. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else like to speak?
Hi, Sonya Baykowski, 225 Main Street. 2 items. One, I'm just going to segue because she was talking about the cell tower. So cell tower related, I am not sure what the process was with choosing whom the consultant was going to be, and other decisions made with this process, because frankly, I was not in the loop at all until rather recently. But I would like to see if it exists, a townwide wireless zoning study, if there was one done, and needs assessment. And if that was not done, then I would certainly like to see one before any of the changes that we're looking at making right now on the planning and zoning board are made. I think that would be prudent. My other comment is, this has to do with the CTSB, actually, our favorite community television station. I had actually requested that CTSB come and record the last meeting at the Lenox Housing Authority, which was July 13th, knowing that there would be a lot of, excitement. And the executive director wrote to me, said he was sending out a cameraman, which he did. The cameraman at the door of the Curtis was told, the meeting is private, and I'm reading this from an email from the executive director, private and not public, so he would not allow him in. Rich Frederick then wrote to me and asked if it was my knowledge that it was public, and I said, well, it's on the town website, and the agenda's on the town website, so I just want to clarify, these meetings are public, correct?
As far as I know.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, I would think so. So that is obviously not just an egregious open meeting law violation, but it's just a really horrible incident. And I would hope that perhaps the town administrator will follow up on that to make sure nothing like that ever happens again.
Well, just to be clear, I would, that's a state run operation. It's not something that I have control over.
The person presiding over that meeting, and I don't know who usually presides, I'm told the executive director usually presides, but that particular meeting was presided over by Kim Graham, who I believe is the vice chair of the Housing Authority Committee, correct?
The
Sure.
Housing Authority is a state agency.
Yeah.
Okay. So are any of you concerned about this happening?
It's a state agency, so you should best take it up with the state agency, with the Department of Housing and Community Development.
Does it
They would
bother
be-
anyone here that TV cameras were kept from going into an open
The question
meeting?
wasn't whether or not it bothered anyone in this room. The question was, what were we going to do about it?
Yeah, well, that's a question.
And I'm simply stating that we don't have authority
We don't
over
have
that.
jurisdiction.
We don't have authority over the authority.
Okay, so if one were going to fill in an open meeting law violation complaint, who then would that, ordinarily, that would be made out to, I believe, the executive director of the housing board. However, I'm confused again because she wasn't running the meeting. So,
I don't have an answer. I can't. I
Can
don't
you
have
get an
to
answer?
that. Can I get an answer? Sure,
Yes.
I'll get an answer.
thanks. I appreciate that. That's,
I'm
I
delighted.
think we
to
can
get an
all
answer.
agree that's something we don't want to see happen
Fair
again,
enough.
correct?
Sure,
Thanks. Okay, thank you very much.
thank you. Anyone else?
Good evening. My name is Courtney. I live in both Pittsfield and Lenox, and thank you for allowing me to speak this evening. I understand that cell antennas or updates to Lenox wireless zoning bylaws are not on the agenda tonight, but this is such an important issue, and I'm asking you to please get it right. If I could go back in time, when I first spoke to Chris about, I don't know, it was last year, when people in the Curtis were hearing about potential proposals for cell antennas, but they were afraid to speak out due to fear of retaliation, of being evicted, or of having issues in their units not fixed if they were seen as troublemakers. I should have asked Chris at that point to please speak with any number of the protective, proactive, and precautionary telecom attorneys out there. I cannot go back in time, so I am asking you tonight. I have heard things presented that concern me greatly, like radiation is directed at the horizon and it goes out and not down. If that was the case, myself, my children, my neighbors would not be harmed. Tonight, after this meeting, we're going to measure here in Lenox the cell towers so I can show the good folks here that is simply not the case. I have heard that there is no harm, no credible journal showing harm, and that the 1996 FCC standards have safety margins built into them, and that these antennas will be thousands of times less. And yes, the radiation from the antennas on the Curtis will be thousands of times less, but that only accounts for thermal harm, not biological. I am deeply concerned that this attorney when hired by Pittsfield, said things that were corrected by 3 independent telecom attorneys. And yet, because Pittsfield was paying him and they had gone down the path with him, cultivated a relationship with him, that they listened to him at the expense of the homes and the health of the residents. And I am fearful. You can hear it in my voice. I am fearful that the same thing will happen here in Lenox. I'd like you to please consider speaking to an independent attorney for 1 hour just to get a different point of view. Thank you for your consideration.
Would anyone else like to speak? Oh, no, we're going to get to you in just a minute. Great, thank you. Citizens Open Forum is concluded for the evening, and now we're moving on to the consent agenda. We have a donation acceptance for the fire department. Chief Chris O'Brien is seeking our approval of a monetary donation to the fire department. The Josh Billings Runaground, there is going to be a 2021 Josh Billings Runaground scheduled to occur on Sunday, September 19th. The board typically votes to grant permission for this organization to use town roads for their event. Finally, the use of Lilac Park. The Chamber is seeking permission to use Lilac Park for the Apple Squeeze activities on Saturday, September 25th from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. This is currently a placeholder. As the date gets closer, it's anticipated the Chamber will have a better idea of what's occurring, and they will be back in touch with us with the details. Can I have a motion to approve the
Any
consent? None that I know of. Any holds?
Okay. Madam Chair, I move to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Great, thank you. Moving on to general business. The first item on general business is a multi-day event with the Apple Tree Inn. The new owners of the Apple Tree Inn are proposing to hold a multi-day festival beginning Friday, September 3rd, completing on Monday, September 6th, 2021. The specifics of the festival are in the packet, and Max Kagan is here to present the proposal and answer any questions we may have. Max?
Sure. How's everyone doing?
Great. If you could just come up to this mic here for recording purposes and introduce yourself.
It's not for amplification, it's just so that folks on TV can hear.
You got it.
You're a little taller than Susan, so you can pull the thing
I'll
up there.
adjust it.
There you go.
All right, nice to meet everyone. My name is Max Kagan. I'm the new owner of the Apple Tree Inn. I'm so happy to be here, and the town's been so welcoming and kind, so thank you all. I'm proposing to have a small music and health and wellness festival for roughly 250 people. It'll be myself and a few other groups hosting it, and that's sort of what it's going to be. I have an itinerary that I gave and submitted. So we plan on having workouts, yoga, hikes, and fun interactive games for the first part of the day, and then some music in the later part of the day from 5 to 12. The music will only be conducted on Saturday and Sunday, and it will be a mix of local artists and some artists from New York and abroad.
So you've got on Saturday and Sunday, the music would be 5 p.m. to 12 a.m., and then again 5 p.m. to 12 a.m. Can you tell us a little bit about the types of music you anticipate and what the sound range might be, the decibel range?
Sure. So on the when we bought the property, there was no decimal range that we were given for our property, so I don't really know what the restrictions are. We're happy to abide by a decimal range if you guys have one that we can. If you guys have a certain decimal range, that's kind of permitted. We plan on having some local artists. John the Erin is a local artist. He plays actually at our hotel. He plays folk music, and I've met some other local artists that are also folk musicians, some jazz musicians, and we also plan to have some electronic music. Those acts will be from artists from New York, from LA, and some places in Europe, and we're still finalizing it.
Okay. Okay. Anybody have any other questions?
No, I'll just comment, it sounds like a pretty tame event. In my opinion, from what I've read, I did talk to your closest neighbor just to see if there were any issues there. Maybe you talked to him also. And he had no problem with it. Or they had no problem with it. Just as long as there was security, just in case you need it. That was his only concern.
100%. Yeah, we plan on having security, and we're going to make sure everything's fully safe. And yeah, we want to bring in some new people to the community, and hopefully they come back for years to come. So we want to spread awareness of Lenox and the Berkshires, because it's a great place.
Great.
So when you own a little resort like that, usually there's no issues if you have the people who are staying at the resort as your guests at events like this. But once you open it up to the public, you run the risk of having people leave there in not necessarily the best shape they could. So you have to make sure that you control that, because you don't want to lose your license. So make sure that your bartenders are tip trained and you have security, adequate security, to make sure that nothing like that happens.
So we plan on having guests at our hotel, but we also have designated hotels in the area where we plan to have guests stay, and we're going to have a shuttle service
Perfect.
That's going to be
That's
picking
good.
people up and dropping them off throughout the day and throughout the night.
It's just not a pleasant experience for you to come back here and say that we had an issue. So just be careful, that's all.
We don't want to cause any problems.
I know.
Great.
Madam Chair, on the issue of decibel levels, I think our ZBA has dealt with this in the past. I think there's probably ample precedence in a couple of processes they've been through, so we could use that as if the owners and staff want to communicate on arriving at that, I think we can probably come up with something pretty reasonable.
We just did one for the days in.
Yeah, I was thinking that. I was thinking of a couple others. Yeah, right. Exactly.
And then I said Saturday and Sunday for the music, but we might want to have some welcome music for the Friday night, if that's okay, from like 9 to 12.
Yeah, I mean, I think you guys have an all entertainment license, so I'm sure that would be well within your entertainment license. Yeah,
Again, just don't play it too loud.
yeah.
And we can provide some guidelines, I think.
You get
Yeah.
some guidance for that, yeah.
Okay, great. Yeah, we'll be in touch then.
Excellent.
Okay.
Good luck.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Good luck with it.
Okay. Again, in general business, permission to use Lilac Park for the Lenox Jazz Stroll, September 11th. There's someone here to speak about that. Andy Warba. Sorry, I'm getting my people confused. So many places to turn.
Hi everybody, I'm Andy Warba. I'm a Pittsfield native and music director at the Darrow School, and I also work with Milltown Capital to develop their music programming. And last year in 2020, we had our first annual Lenox Jazz Stroll across 4 locations, and we're hoping to do the second annual this year, utilizing Lilac Park for 3 sets throughout the afternoon of Saturday, September 11th. I certainly understand the sensitivity of the day, and it's not something that we want to ignore, but something that we want to honor. And that's with a few speakers, a moment of silence, and a musical dedication at the beginning of the event. So that is the plan in regards to that. And with the speakers, I have a few folks specifically in mind, Adam Hines being one of them, who's expressed interest in it, and per his schedule and timing, even if it's not at the beginning and he can come at some other point in the day, we would absolutely welcome that. So it's a jazz stroll, we're calling it. There'll be 7 acts throughout the afternoon, 3 at Lilac Park, a couple at Gateways, and a couple at Roche Reading Park at the library. Milltown will staff the event throughout the town, and we'll have ample signage and abide with all the regulations and rules that are in place for Lilac Park and the library, of course. And Gateways is under our Milltown umbrella, so everything's covered there. That's the overview. I think everyone has some information on that in their packet, too.
Yeah.
Artists have been secured. Donations have been made privately, so everything's covered within the funds, and it should be a great event.
Excellent. Anyone have any questions?
No questions. I think, I agree, it should be a great event. It was pretty cool last year, as hard as it was for you to do, I know. But, I think this year will just be bigger and better and very enjoyable.
Yeah, and in regards to last year too, we had the dining concourse. There was a small set there, which quickly grew beyond the 50 capacity, and we self-reported immediately once it got out of control. We tried maintaining the crowd, and people weren't playing along, so we made an announcement from the bandstand and shut down that set and moved forward with the rest of the afternoon. But that's something we did, we called upon ourselves to do. And obviously there's, the pandemic is still happening, things are changing by the day, so we'll be in line and do what we have to do in regards to that safety. But everything's planned to be outdoors, so that's
Great.
certainly an advantage.
Great. Well, thanks for your for your proposal. It sounds like a great event. You guys have clearly shown you're here to do the right thing in the community, and so we welcome you and hope you have a great event.
Great.
Hope we have good weather.
That's the big one. Yeah.
Fingers crossed.
Yeah, fingers crossed.
Day like today.
Okay. Thank you so much, Andy.
Thank you.
Great. And this was on the consent agenda, but didn't really make it into the packet. Church Street Inn entertainment license. I believe that is in the packet somewhere.
Motion on this one.
Should be.
Should we move on the most recent one first?
Oh, sure. Let's do that. I'm sorry. I totally missed that.
Yeah, you
I just jumped away from it.
lost me
Yes.
here, but so we do have a motion for the Lilac Park Jazz Stroll. So, Madam Chair, I move to approve the use of Lilac Park on Saturday, September the 11th for the second annual Lenox Jazz Stroll.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Great. Thank you so much. And now, this, as I said, falls into the consent agenda, but we'll just have, we've got Jeff Borden here from Church Street Inn, and I'll just have him stand up and give us a little rundown of the type of entertainment he proposes.
Yeah, thank you. I'll be quick. Thank you guys for having me. So you probably see some new faces over at Church Street, myself being one of them. So I just recently came on as the new general manager for Church Street, Birchwood, and the Rookwood Inns. So a lot of exciting stuff happening, and thank you for putting this on the consent agenda for tonight. We're just trying to kind of baby step our way into having some local artists come and just fulfill the kind of the demand that's out there to get some gig workers back going and kind of get that local activity happening. And yeah, a lot of our hotel guests as well as locals are inquiring if we're going to be providing any sort of acoustic type of live entertainment. So we have a nice set there in our new outdoor space, which some of you may have seen. And that's really it.
So the space is just to the right of the
Just to the right of the
buildings?
inn, yep.
Okay.
It's like a big patio.
Yep, we have a nice patio that's kind of separated between the new fire pit area as well as the dining area, and we have a nice little spot in between where we can just have some really mellow, laid-back music and hopefully attract more of a local crowd and start bringing people into into the inn.
Great.
Yeah.
Sounds like a good plan.
Yeah, thank you all for having me. Appreciate it.
Okay, thank you. All right, that takes us to a contemplated executive session. The board is going to hold an executive session to discuss strategy with respect to negotiations with non-union personnel, the town manager. To go into executive session, we're going to specifically need a roll call vote. And I will indicate that the board will be reconvening in open session after we hold this executive session. So, yep.
Okay, Madam Chair, I move that the board convene in executive session to conduct contract negotiations with non-union personnel, specifically the town manager. And you have indicated that the board will reconvene here in open session following that executive session.
Second. Ed Lane, aye.
Neil Maximilian, aye.
Mary Beth Metz, aye.
Dave Roach, aye.
Lauren Archie, aye.
Great, thank you. So we'll be retiring to executive session in this room. Great, okay, so we are returning to public session, having concluded our executive session at 7:50 p.m. I'm going to make a statement regarding what we discussed in executive session, and then I hope that others will chime in, other members of the board. First of all, we had a discussion with Mr. Ketchen. He's currently not asking for any modifications to his contract with regard to this negotiation. But I want to make very clear that at town meeting, we just approved $10 million in capital projects for our current fiscal year. We have approved a new master plan requiring attention for implementation in the upcoming fiscal year. And we're also working to restore a structural balance to our long-term fiscal plan post-COVID. Given all of that, the town of Lenox now requires the focus of the town manager in its entirety as the town prepares to issue these bonds for a new public safety facility, a wastewater treatment plant, and other significant projects. With these important projects, we will certainly be increasing the scope and cost within the next 3 to 4 years. So the intermunicipal agreement at Article 2, Section 2.7 states that the CAO may devote approximately half of their time to each of the towns that he was working in, adjusting as appropriate to successfully perform the duties for each of the 2 towns. When this agreement was initiated, there was an initial pie. The size of the pie, in my view, has grown for Lenox, specifically in regard to the very large projects that we are facing within the next fiscal year. It is for that reason that we propose to entertain, as a board, the notion that we terminate our intermunicipal agreement with the town of Lee and bring Mr. Ketchen back to Lenox as our full-time town manager. We would also like to say that we deeply appreciate Mr. Ketchen's unflagging professional service to our community and require his undivided focus on the significant projects ahead. And I'm happy for anybody to add additional comments.
Well, somebody will start. You know, the 3 of us on the board were around when this intermunicipal agreement began, and we all walked into it absolutely hoping for the best and feeling that it would work perfectly. We knew there'd be bumps in the road. It's just become more and more clear to me, especially with our complex projects that we have on the horizon, so many different things going on that we, and I don't want to sound selfish saying this, but we need to focus on Lenox. And we need the full-time attention of our own town manager to just do the job here.
Agreed, agreed. Well stated, thanks.
I was one of the original ones who voted in favor of this, and you know, I just think that Lenox has grown exponentially up to almost a $30 million business, and I really think that we'd have to do a lot of juggling to try to give us a full-time CEO. So I think under the municipal agreement, it's best for us to bring Chris back to fill that role. We've got so much on our plate right now, and I'd hate to have it get messed up because we didn't have somebody here full-time. And you know, you're our guy, so I mean, I'm certainly in favor of bringing Chris back.
Excellent.
Agreed.
I've always been amazed how Chris can handle both jobs. Like he hadn't if he had 23 minutes to call his own in the course of a day. But for both towns, he's done an admirable job. And but as was been said, we need full-time attention. We got some big issues that require more than we thought we needed from a half-time attention. So I'm welcoming him back, and I'm pleased at the work he's done for both towns, and let's go from here.
So I guess we would entertain a motion.
Let's try that. Make sure this motion reflects what we have. Okay, Madam Chair, I move to terminate the intermunicipal agreement with the Town of Lee for a shared chief administrative officer by exercising the board's option under Section 3-1A of the agreement, and further, to authorize the chair to transmit written notice of this vote to the chair of the Lee Board of Selectmen, as well as the town clerks of Lee and Lenox.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
I think it's unanimous. Thank you very much for all of your hard work. This was a difficult task to arrive at, but I think we've done our level best. And again, you know, we're really looking forward to Mr. Ketchen coming back to Lenox as our first full-time town manager.
Amen.
Welcome home, Chris.
And with that, I would entertain a motion to close the meeting.
Move to adjourn the meeting, noting that next meeting is Wednesday, August 11th at 7 p.m.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.